The five kinds of energy, the five powers. The first source of energy is faith. But this is better translated as confidence. And when you have the energy of faith in you, you are very strong. And in the Gospel, it is said that if you have faith, you can move a mountain. That's a poetic way of describing that energy. And if you have put into the practice a teaching of the Buddha, and if you find out that that teaching that practice is effective, it can bring you mindfulness, concentration, and joy. And then faith, confidence is born from this, not from someone people say. Faith, confidence, not only in ideas, but in the outcome of your practice. When you practice walking, and if you succeed in mindful walking, you see that you are light, you are solid, you are free, and your confidence is born from that kind of experience. So this is not superstition, this is not relying on something outside, on someone outside of yourself. And this can bring a lot of happiness. If you don't have faith, if you don't have that energy of confidence, you suffer. Even the Buddha is inside. The Dharma, taking refuge in the Buddha, in myself. Taking refuge in the Dharma, in myself. In the Sangha, in myself, is very clear. And the second source of power is Tánh, which means diligence. Diligence. Your daily practice bring about transformation. Diligence in the teaching of the Buddha is very concrete. There are concrete things you do in your daily life. And if you do it every day, that is called diligence. Suppose this is our consciousness. And this is the lower part of our consciousness called store consciousness. It is like the land, the soil, the ground, with many seeds preserved in it. In our store consciousness, there is a seed of joy, of forgiveness, of mindfulness, of concentration, of insight, of equanimity. But there are seeds of anger, of hate, of despair, and so on. And all these seeds are kept by store consciousness. And one of the functions of the store consciousness is to maintain all these kind of seeds. The seed of awakening, understanding, compassion are always in us. And they are part of your Buddha nature. Your Buddha nature is innate. The problem is how to help this seed to manifest. And you need the practice of watering. You water, not the negative seeds, like the seed of anger or confusion, but you water the seed of mindfulness, concentration, compassion, and so on. And every time a seed is watered, it manifests itself on the upper level of consciousness called mind consciousness. So mind consciousness is like the living room, and store consciousness is like the basement. If we water a seed of joy, of compassion, that seed will manifest itself on the level of mind consciousness, and it can make the living room beautiful, pleasant. When you read an article, when you listen to a conversation, you are watering these seeds. So be aware that the film you watch or the article you read might trigger the seed of violence, the seed of despair, and they will manifest here. And diligence here means the practice of selective watering. The first step is that negative seed in store consciousness, if they has not arise, that has not manifested, keep them down there. Don't give them a chance. That's the first step. So in your daily life, be careful not to allow these seeds the chance to manifest. We don't suppress, but we just don't give them a chance. That is why you have practiced Yoniso Manaskara, means appropriate attention. When people invite the bell, and you pay attention to the bell, suddenly the seed of mindfulness in you is touched, and you begin to breathe in and out mindfully. And paying attention to the sound of the bell is appropriate attention. In your practice center, in your family, you should have sound, sight that can help you touch the wholesome thing within yourself, and try to not to expose the sight and the sound that will touch off the negative, the seed of craving, the seed of anger in you. This is the first practice, and you need intelligence in order to practice that. You have your partner, you have your children, you have your friends. Protect them. Create a kind of environment where they don't touch the things that bring about the watering of the negative seeds. The second step of diligence is that if it happens that it has been touched and it has manifested, the negative one, then with intelligence, help them to go home to this place. And there are many ways you can do that. It's like you have a compact disc. You have taken the wrong compact disc, and when you play, well, it's not pleasant. So you just stop and you change the CD. And when the new CD is played, well, it's very pleasant. Change your idea, change the object of your mind consciousness. If an idea is negative, full of craving or anger manifest, you can use your mindful breathing and touch another seed that is wholesome here and invite it to come up. And if it is interesting enough, and the other seed will go down. But it should be more interesting. Otherwise you will be fighting. So with skillfulness, with intelligence, we practice the second step in order to change the situation, helping the negative things to go down here, and helping the positive thing to come up. And when the positive things are up here, the living room is occupied, no chance for the other guests to come. That is about the negative seed. Now we come to the third, which is a positive seeds. Positive, wholesome seeds in stock consciousness, if they have not manifest, help them to manifest. Read something, say something, watch something that go water the seed of compassion, of loving kindness in you, so that it will manifest here. That's the first step. You have to organize your life in such a way that the good seeds in you be touched several times a day, so that they can manifest themselves on that level of mind consciousness. And that can be done very quickly. You invite a wonderful guest to be in the living room. They will change the whole situation. And the fourth step is when the good mental formation has already manifest, try to keep them as long as possible in your living room. According to Buddhist psychology, the longer the mental formation stay here, the stronger it will grow at the base. This applies to the positive as well as the negative. If you entertain craving here for 5 minutes, and the seed of craving here have 5 minutes in order to grow, dangerous. That is why you are advised by the Buddha to help this to go home as soon as possible, and to invite the good thing to come up. And when the good thing has come up, try to preserve them here as long as possible, because during the time it continue to be here, its base down there will be strengthened. So the practice is very clear, very precise. And when you use your intelligence, your skillfulness to organize your practice, this is called true diligence. And true diligence can bring a lot of joy, a lot of happiness to you and to your beloved one. We know that mindfulness is a kind of energy that carries within herself the energy of concentration. And if we continue the practice of mindfulness throughout the day, our concentration continue to grow. And when you are concentrated, you discover the nature of what is there. When you look at the tea with concentration, you can discover that the tea is the continuation of the cloud, and so on. When you look into a flower, you discover that a flower is made only of non-flower elements. When you look at a lotus flower, you know that the lotus flower is made of non-lotus elements, including the element of mud. The mud is not very clean. It does not smell good. But without the mud, a lotus flower is impossible. And when you look at happiness, you see that happiness is made of non-happiness elements, including suffering. If you know how to handle suffering, if you know how to make good use of suffering, we can produce happiness. If you are an organic gardener, you don't want to throw away the garbage. You can preserve them and make them into compost and nourish the flowers and the vegetables. So suffering has a role to play in making happiness. And a good practitioner is not afraid of suffering. She knows how to make good use of suffering in order to create happiness. And that is why concentration is so important. Mindfulness brings concentration, and when mindfulness and concentration are powerful, you get a breakthrough, and you get the insight into the nature of everything that is. And we can be liberated from our afflictions, our fear, our anger, and so on. So liberation, freedom is the fruit of concentration. And in many schools of Buddhism, we learn many forms of practice of concentration. Samadhi. Samadhi is to focus on our mind in just one point, one pointed mind. When you expose the lens to the sunshine, the lens can concentrate the light into one small part. And when you put a piece of paper there, it will be burned. The same thing is true with concentration. When you have a strong, a powerful concentration, that concentration will be able to burn away your afflictions, whether it is fear or anger. Insight is the fruit of mindfulness and concentration, and when you have the insight has the power of liberating you. It is by ignorance that we suffer. But when we begin to touch the insight, you have the insight touching our true nature, no birth, no death. There is no longer any fear. There is a compassion. There is acceptance. There is tolerance. And that is why insight is a tremendous source of happiness. You add the practice of letting go, and you have 6 powers. Letting go is a power. And this is also the teaching of the Buddha. 5 powers, 6 powers.